The difference between ownership and partnership in relationships is fundamental, yet often overlooked or misunderstood. Ownership implies control, possession, and dominance, while partnership speaks to equality, mutual respect, and shared growth. When a man approaches a relationship with an ownership mindset, he views his partner not as an equal individual with her own thoughts, feelings, and desires, but as something to be controlled, shaped, or even possessed. This dynamic is a red flag because it undermines the foundation of love, which thrives on freedom, respect, and trust. In an ownership dynamic, the man may subtly or overtly try to dictate how his partner should behave, who she should see, what she should wear, or even how she should think. This control is often disguised as care or protection, but it is rooted in insecurity and fear. The need to own someone arises from a desire to eliminate unpredictability and maintain power. It is a way of saying, "I am the one in charge," which ultimately stifles the partner's growth and individuality. Such control leads to resentment and emotional suffocation, where the partner loses sight of her own identity and begins to measure her worth through compliance and obedience. Conversely, partnership in a relationship embraces two whole individuals coming together not to dominate or possess, but to complement and support one another. It is built on the understanding that each person maintains their autonomy while choosing to unite in love. In this relationship model, respect for boundaries is paramount. The partners recognize and honor each other's unique needs and differences. Decisions are made collaboratively, and conflicts are addressed with empathy and open communication, rather than control or coercion. True partnership encourages growth, not just as a couple, but as individuals. Each partner feels safe to express their true selves, explore their passions, and evolve without fear of judgment or rejection. They celebrate each other's successes and provide strength during challenges without trying to diminish or overshadow one another. Partnership fosters a balance where both give and receive freely, cultivating a relationship where love is not a chain but a shared dance. When a man views love through the lens of ownership, he often exhibits possessive behaviors disguised as affection. He may become jealous easily, monitor his partner's activities, or demand explanations for her actions, all under the pretense of caring. Such behavior is a red flag because it signals a lack of trust and respect. Trust is the soil in which love grows. Without it, the relationship is barren. Possessiveness creates a toxic environment where fear and suspicion replace safety and comfort. Over time, this erodes self-esteem and fosters emotional dependence, trapping the partner in a cycle of control and submission. The ownership mindset can also manifest through subtle emotional manipulations. A man might guilt-trip his partner, making her feel responsible for his happiness or threatening withdrawal of love as a form of punishment. These tactics coerce compliance and silence dissent, which destroys authentic communication. Instead of being able to voice concerns and boundaries openly, the partner learns to hide her true feelings to avoid conflict. This suppression of individuality undermines the very essence of a healthy relationship. In contrast, a man who embraces partnership values open dialogue and mutual respect. He understands that disagreements are natural and does not fear vulnerability or honesty. Such a man listens without judgment and approaches problems as opportunities for growth. He encourages his partner to be her whole self and does not perceive her independence as a threat, but as a strength that enriches their connection. Recognizing the difference between ownership and partnership is a vital skill for anyone seeking healthy, fulfilling relationships. It requires awareness of one's own boundaries and an understanding of what respect looks like in practice. A relationship based on ownership is a prison disguised as a home. It may look secure from the outside, but inside it suffocates and confines. Partnership, however, is a sanctuary where both individuals can flourish freely. To move from ownership to partnership, it is essential to cultivate self-awareness and empathy. For a man to shed the need for control, he must confront his insecurities and fears, learning that love does not require domination, but trust and acceptance. For the partner, it involves setting clear boundaries and recognizing when those boundaries are being violated. It means listening to that inner voice that signals discomfort and honoring it rather than dismissing it for the sake of peace or love. Ultimately, love is not about owning another person, but about sharing life with someone who respects your autonomy and values your individuality. When love is approached as a partnership, it becomes a source of strength, joy, and mutual fulfillment. It allows two people to grow side by side, not by holding onto each other tightly out of fear, but by walking together freely with open hearts. This shift from ownership to partnership transforms relationships from mere survival mechanisms into spaces of true connection and happiness. How a man treats others is often a revealing window into his character, values, and the kind of relationship he is capable of fostering. It's a fundamental truth that the way someone behaves toward people around them, whether strangers, friends, family, or even service workers, reflects deeply on their inner nature and intentions. This behavior is not just a matter of social etiquette, but an essential indicator of empathy, respect, and emotion.
Diggy diggy bum bum. You got me like crazy. That you're calling me.
Observing a man's can offer critical insights and serve as an early warning system for red flags. A man who consistently shows kindness, patience, and respect to those around him is likely someone who understands the essence of human dignity and connection. This does not mean perfection, but a consistent pattern of compassion and consideration. When he treats people kindly regardless of their status or what he might gain, it shows an authentic kindness that goes beyond superficial charm or convenience. This kind of man can offer a relationship grounded in respect because he inherently values people, including his partner, as ends in themselves, not means to an end. On the other hand, a man who disregards or mistreats others reveals a potentially dangerous pattern. Such behavior is often an early sign of selfishness, entitlement, or even cruelty. It might manifest in small ways: impatience with waitstaff, dismissiveness toward family members, or harshness to friends, but these small interactions reveal a much larger attitude. If he cannot respect people who have no power over him or who cannot benefit him, it's unlikely he will show respect to his partner consistently. This tendency often signals a lack of empathy and a limited capacity for genuine love or partnership. Moreover, the treatment of others reflects a person's emotional intelligence and self-awareness. A man who reacts with anger, frustration, or cruelty when things don't go his way or when under stress is revealing his inability to manage emotions healthily. Emotional regulation is crucial for sustaining relationships. A partner who cannot keep his emotions in check may create a volatile environment where unpredictability and fear replace safety and trust. Witnessing how he handles conflict, disappointment, or stress outside the relationship can provide a mirror for how he will behave within. Another important aspect is how a man treats those who depend on him or are vulnerable. This could be children, elderly relatives, or even animals. Compassion and responsibility toward the vulnerable reveal a heart capable of tenderness and care, qualities essential in a committed relationship. Conversely, neglect or abuse of those who rely on him is a glaring red flag. It shows a capacity for harm and disregard that could eventually impact his partner as well. It is also critical to notice how he speaks about others when they are not present. Gossip, blame, or harsh criticism behind someone's back often indicate a lack of integrity and honesty. If a man cannot show respect openly, his respect is conditional and unreliable. This behavior may translate into secrecy or deceit within a relationship, undermining trust and intimacy. The way a man treats others can also reveal his values and priorities. Is he generous with his time, attention, and resources? Does he stand up for those who are marginalized or mistreated? These questions matter because they show whether his compassion extends beyond himself. A man who consistently demonstrates fairness and kindness to others is more likely to cultivate a relationship where both partners feel valued and supported. In contrast, a man who acts with entitlement, rudeness, or indifference to others is likely to carry those traits into his intimate relationships. This can result in emotional neglect, disrespect, and an imbalance of power. Such patterns often lead to a toxic environment where one partner's needs and feelings are minimized or ignored. Recognizing these patterns early is a form of self-care and wisdom. It allows you to avoid investing in relationships that will drain your emotional energy and compromise your well-being. Instead, you can seek connections rooted in mutual respect, kindness, and genuine care qualities that sustain love and foster growth. Ultimately, the way a man treats others is not just about social behavior, but about the core of who he is. It reflects his capacity for empathy, respect, responsibility, and love. When these qualities are present, they create a fertile ground for a healthy, nurturing relationship. When they are absent, they signal potential pain and heartbreak. Learning to observe and trust this indicator can guide you toward relationships that honor your worth and support your happiness. Avoidance of responsibility is a behavior that often quietly undermines relationships, creating instability and frustration over time. When a man consistently refuses to take accountability for his actions, decisions, or emotions, it signals a deeper unwillingness to engage authentically with himself and others. This avoidance is not merely about shirking chores or daily tasks. It reflects a broader pattern that can permeate how he approaches commitment, conflict, and personal growth. In relationships, responsibility is a cornerstone of trust and reliability, and its absence is a clear red flag that should not be ignored. When a man avoids responsibility, he often shifts blame onto others or external circumstances rather than reflecting inwardly. This blame game creates a dynamic where problems are never truly addressed, but pushed aside or denied. Instead of owning mistakes or shortcomings, he rationalizes or excuses them, leaving his partner to carry the burden of consequences. This dynamic is not only unfair, but emotionally exhausting, as it places the partner in a caretaker role, managing the fallout without shared accountability. Moreover, avoidance of responsibility reveals a fear of vulnerability. Admitting fault or facing the consequences of one's actions requires humility and courage. It means acknowledging imperfection and opening oneself up to potential criticism or disappointment. Some men avoid this because it threatens their ego or sense of control. They might fear that accepting responsibility diminishes their power or exposes weaknesses. Yet, ironically, this avoidance often results in a loss of respect and trust from those around them, especially from partners who seek honesty and maturity. Another dimension of responsibility avoidance is emotional unavailability. A man who refuses to take ownership of his feelings or the impact of his behavior on others often struggles with genuine emotional intimacy. He might dismiss his partner's feelings, refuse to engage in meaningful conversations, or walk away from conflicts rather than working through them. This creates a relationship environment where issues accumulate unresolved, eroding connection and understanding. Emotional responsibility is just as crucial as practical responsibility. Without it, the foundation of trust and empathy crumbles. In addition, avoidance of responsibility often correlates with a lack of personal growth. Growth requires reflection, learning from mistakes, and making conscious changes. A man who resists responsibility is less likely to engage in this process because it demands effort and honesty. He may remain stuck in patterns of behavior that harm the relationship, repeating the same mistakes without learning or evolving. This stagnation prevents the relationship from deepening and adapting over time. This behavior also impacts how a man fulfills his commitments. Whether related to financial obligations, shared household duties, parenting, or emotional support, responsibility is key to partnership. When he avoids these responsibilities, it creates imbalance and resentment. The partner often ends up compensating, leading to exhaustion and a sense of unfairness. Over time, this imbalance can become a source of significant conflict and dissatisfaction. Avoidance of responsibility can manifest subtly as well, such as making promises but failing to follow through, or consistently arriving late and making excuses. These behaviors may seem minor at first, but reflect an underlying disregard for reliability and respect. They signal that the man does not prioritize the relationship or value the partner's time and trust. Recognizing this pattern requires attention and self-awareness. It's important to notice if a man consistently avoids difficult conversations, refuses to apologize sincerely, or deflects when confronted with issues. These are not isolated incidents, but recurring behaviors that shape the relationship's quality. Addressing avoidance of responsibility early can prevent deeper wounds and foster healthier communication. For a relationship to thrive, both partners must embrace responsibility, not only for individual actions, but also for the relationship's health. This means owning mistakes, apologizing when necessary, and committing to growth together. It also involves holding each other accountable with compassion and understanding, creating a safe space for vulnerability. In contrast, a man who takes responsibility demonstrates integrity, maturity, and respect. He understands that accountability is not a weakness but a strength that builds trust and deepens connection. By facing challenges honestly and working through them, he contributes to a relationship grounded in mutual respect and cooperation. Choosing a partner who embraces responsibility is an act of self-respect and wisdom. It ensures that you build a foundation where both individuals contribute actively, face challenges together, and grow in harmony. Avoiding responsibility is a sign of immaturity that can slowly erode love and trust, while embracing it opens the door to true partnership and lasting fulfillment. Recognizing and responding to this red flag is essential for safeguarding your emotional well-being and creating relationships that honor your worth. Emotional manipulation is a subtle yet powerful force that can quietly invade relationships, eroding trust and self-worth over time. It is a form of control where one person uses another's feelings, insecurities, or vulnerabilities to influence behavior and maintain power. Unlike physical aggression, emotional manipulation often masquerades as care, concern, or even love, making it difficult to recognize until significant damage has been done. Understanding emotional manipulation is essential for anyone seeking healthy relationships, as it reveals patterns that undermine authenticity, respect, and equality. At its core, emotional manipulation exploits trust and empathy. A manipulative man may use guilt, shame, or fear to influence his partner's decisions and feelings. For example, he might say things that make her feel responsible for his happiness or well-being, suggesting that if she does not act a certain way, she is somehow failing him. This creates a heavy burden, as the partner begins to prioritize the manipulator's emotions over her own needs and boundaries. The manipulation thrives on this imbalance, where one person's feelings dominate and overshadow the others. Gaslighting is a common tactic within emotional manipulation. It involves distorting reality to make the partner doubt her perceptions, memories, or feelings. A man who gaslights might deny things he has said or done, blame the partner for problems he caused, or insist that she is overreacting or imagining things. This insidious behavior slowly undermines the partner's confidence and sense of reality, trapping her in confusion and self-doubt. Over time, gaslighting can make her question her own judgment, which is a dangerous and damaging form of emotional control. Another form of emotional manipulation is the use of silent treatment or withdrawal of affection as punishment. Instead of addressing issues openly, the manipulative man may become cold, distant, or unresponsive when displeased. This behavior conditions the partner to walk on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid conflict or displeasure. It creates an environment of fear and unpredictability, where love feels conditional and safety is compromised. The partner's natural desire for connection is weaponized to keep her compliant and anxious. Manipulation can also appear as excessive flattery or charm, followed by criticism or demands. This push and pull dynamic confuses the partner and keeps her emotionally off balance. Moments of affection and praise make the partner hopeful and committed, while moments of criticism or withdrawal reinforce feelings of inadequacy. This cycle creates dependency, as she continually seeks the approval and love that feels inconsistent and fragile. Importantly, emotional manipulation often targets the partner's boundaries, eroding them little by little. The manipulative man may dismiss or minimize the partner's feelings, insist on making decisions unilaterally, or pressure her to conform to his desires. When boundaries are ignored or violated, the partner loses her sense of agency and self-respect. Maintaining strong boundaries is vital in resisting manipulation because they act as a protective barrier, signaling what is acceptable and what is not. Recognizing emotional manipulation requires attentiveness and honesty with oneself. It often feels like walking on thin ice, where one is unsure of what is true and what is false, where love feels conditional and confusing rather than supportive and clear. Trusting your intuition and emotional responses is crucial. If something feels wrong or exhausting consistently, it is a sign that manipulation might be at play. Breaking free from emotional manipulation involves reclaiming one's voice and autonomy. This can be challenging because manipulation often distorts reality and damages self-esteem. Support from trusted friends, family, or professionals can provide perspective and validation. Setting firm boundaries and communicating them clearly is essential, as is recognizing that love should never require sacrifice of one's dignity or sense of self. In healthy relationships, emotional expression is met with respect, empathy, and understanding. Differences and conflicts are navigated with openness rather than coercion. Love is a safe space where both partners feel seen, heard, and valued equally. Emotional manipulation, by contrast, thrives on secrecy, imbalance, and control. Awareness and education about these tactics empower individuals to avoid toxic dynamics and seek relationships built on honesty and mutual respect. Ultimately, emotional manipulation is a red flag signaling a lack of respect and genuine care. It undermines the foundation of trust and connection that relationships depend on. By learning to identify and resist these tactics, individuals protect their emotional health and open the door to relationships that nurture rather than diminish their true selves. Recognizing emotional manipulation is not just about protecting oneself, but about honoring the possibility of love that is free, equal, and affirming. Respecting boundaries is a fundamental aspect of any healthy relationship, yet it is often misunderstood or overlooked. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define where one person ends and another begins. They represent personal limits regarding emotional space, physical touch, time, values, and needs. When a man respects these boundaries, he honors the individuality and autonomy of his partner, creating a safe environment where trust and intimacy can flourish. Conversely, disregarding boundaries is a serious red flag that signals disrespect and a lack of regard for the partner's well-being. Boundaries are not barriers designed to keep people out. Rather, they are frameworks that protect each person's sense of self. They allow individuals to maintain their identity within a relationship without losing themselves in the process. A man who understands and respects boundaries recognizes that love is not about merging completely or controlling the other person, but about walking side by side as equals. He respects her right to say no, to express discomfort, or to ask for space without fear of judgment or retaliation. When boundaries are disrespected, it often manifests as pressure, coercion, or outright disregard for the partner's feelings and limits. This can take many forms: pushing someone to move faster in the relationship than they are comfortable with, invading their privacy, dismissing their emotional needs, or pressuring them into decisions they are not ready to make. Such behavior diminishes trust and creates an environment of anxiety and uncertainty. The partner may feel unsafe, unheard, or undervalued, which erodes the foundation of the relationship. Respecting boundaries also means recognizing that each person has a unique history, personality, and rhythm. What feels right or comfortable for one may not be the same for another. A man who respects boundaries is patient and attentive, willing to listen deeply to his partner's expressed limits without judgment. He understands that boundaries may shift over time and that ongoing communication is essential to honor these changes. This dynamic creates a relationship where both partners feel secure to be themselves and explore their needs openly. Ignoring boundaries often signals control or possessive